This is Rebuttl, presented by Extra Insights.
Okay, so COVID vaccine. Is this the end of the pandemic? My name is Vikram Pratap Singh, and this is Rebuttal, presented by Extra Insights. Rebuttal is a civilized debate on issues that matter for curious news consumers. Today we discuss COVID vaccine. Is this the end of the pandemic? Now there has been a lot of debate, as far as COVID vaccine, without clinical trials, how successful is COVID vaccine going to be? Russian company, for example, they are trying to tie up with Indian companies, with India, to release a vaccine called Sputnik 5. It has not yet been, it has not been in the third phase of clinical trials, and they're still trying to. And there are many other vaccines, various vaccines on the trial phase. Some of it will be released. Now there are major people around the world. For example, they have been trying to, share a message where they say, this is not going to be very successful. Some people are of the, of the opinion that this will be a success, but it needs to be given some time. So the topic for today is very clear. How can we, go ahead with this, the vaccine? If the vaccine is made, is it going to end the pandemic or not? So with that, let me quickly establish the rules. Each participant gets total 5 minutes for opening comments, right? Now, and then 3 minutes to rebuttal and refute, and 1 minute to share their closing comments. So we will start with Himanshu, who is speaking for the motion. Great. Himanshu Sinha is from Heritage School. Fantastic. Himanshu Sinha is from Heritage School of Technology. He is a third year student there. He loves to read. An engineering student who loves philosophy is what describes Himanshu Sinha. And to top that all, he is a gold medalist in Taekwondo. And he is a very good debater. So now we have the first round. He'll be speaking for the motion. Right? So here we go, Himanshu. Take it away.
So hello everybody. I'm going to speak on the motion of the topic. So on a starting point, first of all, I would like to say no matter what, we are going to get out of this situation, being positive. So the very first and foremost thing is that what actually a vaccination to any particular disease is supposed to be. So it's a biological preparation that provides active acquired immunity to a particular infectious disease. And here I assume we are not talking about the achievements and progress which are sandwiched between success and failures. The second point to be pondered upon is that do we actually need a vaccination? Is it just a helping hand? Is there nothing we can do without it? Can't we manage it on our own? Well, in that case, my views are yes, we can, and definitely we can. See, elimination or near elimination of a pandemic requires a lot of effort, organization, resource, and hell lot of things. But I believe that it is possible, and as we have seen, some 9+ countries have already pulled themselves out of the situation very gracefully with some proper model of implications. So, if we can manage things without the vaccine, getting a vaccine in between is no less than a boon to us as of now. And this is the main reason why I'm not against of this topic. See, vaccine is just like any other product. What matters is not just the product is available to all, but also how effective the product is. And talking in terms of COVID-19 vaccine, it has to be somewhere around 70 to 80%, or even more than 80% for us to stop relying upon the social distancing norms. Similarly, different vaccines provide protections at a different level, and that doesn't mean that particular vaccine is useless. It would just simply mean that social distancing in some form is still necessary. So I don't really see any problem in that. If vaccine comes out to be in the market, there would be any problem in ending the pandemic, obviously with some other safety measures. Furthermore, I would like to ask my friend Asshar in the floor of the motion that do you really believe that we are going to get out of this situation? Do you really believe that we are going to get normalcy back? Because what I quite firmly believe that things will get settled down on its own accord. And in the meantime, if we get to have a preventive preparation, I don't see any odds in that. Rather, these things will only speed up the process. See, what vaccines are generally, they are essentially a way to activate the immunity system of your body. It's just like having gone through the disease once without the drawbacks, obviously. So when we inject a vaccine into our body, it induces antibodies into our blood, which are not penetrated to the mucous membrane of our body. And these viruses are not normal viruses. So unlike these viruses, these respiratory viruses try to infect the respiratory organs of our body. And these antibodies, which are injected through vaccines, are not able to penetrate into the mucous membrane of our body, which are sneaked in through the nose and throat. So it is unlikely to say that these vaccines will totally restrict the viruses from entering into our body, but they will certainly protect the deeper tissues of our body, such as lungs, and hence restraining this disease to get even worse. So with all these exceptions and anomaly, we are already directed to a path where we have to be self-sufficing, and we have to follow some spot models like uh, such that in New Zealand. So getting a proper working vaccine and proper measures, I don't see quite any problem in that. With the efficacy of about 80%, I don't see any problem. We can surely eradicate the pandemic totally out of the room. So these were my points. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So Himanshu's, the opening lines from Himanshu was mostly we can come out of this situation. All we have to do is be positive. Social distancing is necessary. We need to work things out together. We have to be positive. However, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 virus, is not a normal virus. It will take some time, but there is all hope that we will actually come out of this situation. So that is what Himanshu Sinha believes, a very positive outlook towards the virus. Speaking against the motion is Asshar Uddin. He loves writing poetry. He is also a third year student in Heritage School of Technology and writes articles. He's also done a lot of writing work, and he has a book published on stories that he's recently done. All of that, which makes him a very able debater. Now, for the topic, of pandemic, is this the end of the pandemic with the COVID vaccine? He will be speaking against the motion. Ashar, take it away.
Okay, so while my opponent Himanshu was speaking, he laid more emphasis on being positive than rather getting a vaccine. So I won't be getting much over that. There are plenty of theories and postulates laid by the medical experts globally, which messes up with the possibilities of pandemic ending after the launch of vaccine. There are basically two routes that might lend to the end of this pandemic. Apparently, one of them is vaccination, for which I strongly argue that it is not going to play any vital role. The other route being herd immunity is quite something natural that I believe in. Now, let me begin with the big noise of Russian COVID vaccine, which sounded like it's the ultimate end to the global pandemic, but somewhere it itself ended up around some corners of doubts regarding clinical trial phases not being taken care of in obligations with the vaccine trial rules. Scientists globally scientists globally have condemned this decision of dangerous race for the vaccine production. I would like to mention the words of Dr. Peter Hotez, who is a vaccine scientist from Texas. He says that Russians may be skipping such measures and steps that worries our community of vaccine scientists. If they get it wrong, it would actually undermine the entire global enterprise. So this is something that we should be taking care of. If you further go through the listings of the website, which I think is it's clinicaltrial.government website, where you can clearly see the lack of data of two early stages of trial of the Russian COVID vaccine. So do you really think that we can depend on such a kind of vaccine which has not yet completed the steps of medical trials properly? I do not think so. So what is the use of such kind of vaccine? First point. No. The first ever COVID vaccine is under so much of controversy, and follow-up vaccines by other countries are yet to come. In such a situation, do you really think, Himanshu, that in this race of vaccine production, we are going to end this pandemic anywhere? Also, the medical negligence can simply be very dangerous for millions of vaccination candidates who are eagerly waiting. If this race is only about the early production of vaccine by any means, uh, going down the lane, if a vaccine, okay, I assume that if a vaccine comes lately around 2020 and with, okay, some kind of positive response, even nothing on earth guarantees its economical feasibilities. What I mean to say is that the two-thirds of the world's population, basically the third world countries which are there, which are whose major population chunk is sink in poverty line, they won't be able to afford the vaccine price. What is the use of such vaccine to which the major population across the globe they can't make anything out of it? The pandemic is not going to end this way. Adding more to the concern, there is a global crash down, which may be due to some international diplomacy and trade war between the superpowers. I don't have to do anything with that, but this has a certain impact on the vaccination as well, because it simply means that even the developing countries, uh, I would mind saying that even in developing countries like India would find it very difficult to vaccinate their entire population through government funds. I think it's nearly impossible. Adding even more to the concern, adding even more against the hopes of the vaccine ending this coronavirus pandemic, World Health Organization WHO has officially said on Friday that the vaccine will be a vital tool, but it won't end pandemic globally. And this does not guarantee the scientists will also even find it. So I think this is a real red dangerous sentence. So I do not think that there is any kind of possibility of depending on the vaccine anywhere. Thank you. Sorry, we are not able to hear you.
So if you remember, this is a 5 minutes round. You could have taken it a little further, both of you, but that is not a problem. So I am sure you have been able to put your points on the table. Lack of data in Russian COVID-19 vaccine is a major, major concern, according to our second speaker, Asshar. Production of vaccine by any means. There is a race towards producing vaccine at any cost. The first one gets the cake. Affordability is a major concern. How much can we afford this vaccine? Is can we all afford it? Can since a major people the of population major part of the portion of the population is below the poverty line, can they afford the vaccine? Can the government go ahead and do the vaccination for the entire population? These were the questions raised by Asharuddin. Here we go with for the second round of rebuttals and refutes, and Himanshu, you can take it away.
Yeah. So you were very good, Asha. Some of your points were very quite satisfying. So first of all, I would like to say that being negative after getting a vaccination is not going to help anyways. But if you stay positive now only, then somehow getting being positive is the ultimate thing. So now, furthermore, from your speech, from your opening points, uh, I had already mentioned in my speech that we are not considering those vaccinations, those achievements, those progresses which are sandwiched between success and failures. So this is not a concern. We deliberately try to always bring things which are going to hinder the progress. So what do you see there? What do you want to say on this, that we are not concerned about the trivial things which are going on? So the next point which I noted down is that you are talking about WHO. So I must let you know that few days back in the past, WHO was the one who told that the person who are not infected with COVID virus don't are not needed to wear the mask. They are not at any risk, and now they are saying these things. So I wanted to know that how much we should be dependent on WHO, his their statements and all. So what is your point on that? Because WHO has been some kind of trivial talk up.
Okay, do
So
let
these
me
were
know
the
when you are done, Himanshu.
yeah. Yeah, I'm done. I have 3 points. I have put 3 points forward to you, so you can answer that.
Okay, Himanshu. So Himanshu began with the, philosophy of being positive and negative. So it's good to stay positive, but being positive does not help at all. I mean, everywhere you have to do strive towards getting things done practically also. Because being positive did not help in the SARS virus also. Being positive did not help in the, that 1920 Spanish flu also. So it's a good thing, but then again, you need not be like philosophically ideal everywhere. You need to think practically as well. Himanshu said that that I had already mentioned that we are assuming the achievements and progress and are not sandwiched between success and failures. Okay, these are the things fine. These things can be finally said on paper and pen. But when you come to the ground situation, you need to deliver something. And if the vaccine is not delivering, you cannot simply talk on being positive and being negative. Second point, Himanshu said that you are talking about the same World Health Organization, which was once saying that wearing mask is not very important for those who are not infected. And later on, the countries did not descend to WHO. They, like India, also made it mandatory for the people to wear mask, and that rather helped. So yeah, that is a fine thing. But you should note that the World Health Organization said that in perspective of those people who don't have infection, non-infectious people can stop wearing a mask and infectious people can wear mask. Also, that was said in the very initial stages of corona. That was not saying somewhere in the mid of entire global pandemic. Secondly, that is a World Health Organization. You need to depend with a certain degree on that. You cannot completely refute the entire World Health Organization just because it had a certain amount of a degree of slip in its one of these statements that it had late. It's in its initial stages. So the first thing I would like to mention that very conveniently Himanshu Sinha skipped the economical perspectives of the vaccine, to which I delivered much. So I think that needs to be taken well care of very well, because economical perspective is something that on which two third of the entire world population and more than 90% population of the third world countries are dependent on. My second question is that Himanshu has assumed positiveness and ideality everywhere. So, where is talking about the vaccine? Also, Himanshu mentioned in his speech that he believes that things will settle down on its own. So, are you confused, Himanshu, that if things will settle down on its own, then what's the use of vaccine rather? So, yeah, you can go.
Actually, I'm not getting the voice clearly. Last question. I can't hear the last. I didn't hear the last question.
Yeah, so I said that Himanshu had mentioned in his speech that he believes that things will settle down on its own. So if you are believing this, are you confused? Why do you need a vaccine then? Is vaccine only a aid that you yourself are not completely confident about? If things can settle down on its own, so you are basically referring to things like herd immunity. Then why vaccine? Go on.
Okay. So the very first on your very first question, economical problem that is. So see, coronavirus is I think uh, is a thing which do not discriminate between rich and poor. So if a vaccination comes into our country or any place, it has to be mandatory for us to make it available to each and every person. This is very trivial to bring economic problems in there, because I think government is able, each and every country's government is able to provide vaccination and medical facilities at a lower cost to each and every individual. So we are not left with any opportunity. We are not left with taking any chances that if we get to have a vaccination, then we have to give it to only people who can afford it. It's our duty, it's our responsibility, it's government's responsibility to help the people who are not getting the vaccination to get it to them. Now the second point about positiveness, Asher, I feel that being positive plays a very vital role. I have been in philosophy for a very long time, so I quite know the functioning of our mind and all. I think you might have heard of placebo effect as well. So being positive does play a very important role. We generally tend to reject or avoid these things because we don't actually know these things. So being positive is a very good thing. I don't think if we get a vaccination and we act negatively that this is not going to work anywhere, so that will not help either. How is that going to help? You can tell me. Now the third point is settling down of the pandemic. So I didn't say that it will go settle down on its own accord, like we have to just sit down at our homes and do things whatever we want to do and it will get settled down. No, it's not like that. I was saying that we have to take preventive measures and we have to be alert. Everything else, whatever we are doing, we have to do those things as well. And if in the meantime we get to have a vaccination, though its efficacy may be less than 80%, maybe less than 70%, or maybe even 60%, we are going to get some amount of immunity from the disease. See, in India, we are at a situation that situation is not in our control. We are daily on a daily basis, we are getting 60 to 70,000 cases on a regular basis. So containment side is not ours now. We have to deal with the side where we have to get to the peak as soon as possible. So for that, we have to deal things like that only. We have to be careful. We have to be alert. So thank you.
Fantastic. The both of you, fantastic. Being positive. My takeaway from this entire second round of rebuttal and refute is we have to be positive along with being practical to get a
Yeah,
practical solution. To have, we need the
because
both
being
combination
positive
of
is
being
the thing only which
practical
make you progress.
and along with being positive. That is my takeaway from this round of debate. Both of you spoke very well on, and obviously there were certain questions that people rose about WHO's involvement in this. How much, how dangerous is it going to be, or we will not blame WHO in that. My takeaway from this entire thing is because even they did not realize that how dangerous or what the extent of this pandemic was going to be. So, but yes, these are very important questions raised by the both and answered beautifully by the both. Now we'll head into the last round of the debate. Please take it away, Himanshu.
So, on closing note, I would like to talk about situation in India in our country. We have talked globally as of now. So, India is a country with a very vast population, as all of you know. So, it's very pathetic to take control of the situation in India. So, there are basically two models which many countries have followed to get over this situation, and those models are containing the disease, and after that, if situation gets out of control, we tend to get to the peak as soon as possible. So in India, at the initial stages, cases were very low. We were able to contain the disease, but things didn't go that well. So now the situation is we have to work on the other side of the scenario, that we have to get to the peak as soon as possible. And getting to the peak means we have to generate less cases. We have to control the cases so that if in a long run for about 1 or 2 weeks we get less cases, that what we are getting as of now, we already crossed the peak. So that should be the mechanism in India. What should we follow? We should immune more and more people with the vaccine of efficacy, let's say about 60%. We have to do that for bringing the cases down on a regular basis, and that is the only solution what I feel can be done. So thank you.
Fantastic. Right. So, Ashar, can we have the closing statements from you, closing lines from you?
Yeah, thank you. So I would like to continue on the platform of Himanshu with my own opinions, that is about the perspective of India. So now if I talk in the perspective of India, the first and the biggest hurdle, even after a positive, which I assume to be positive launch of delivering vaccine against COVID, is its population. Given the economic conditions and a bit not so stable system, it is highly unlikely that the vaccine would lead to the end of corona in India. A country with two-thirds of its entire population living in poverty would not benefit much from the vaccine, especially when the vaccine would cost from the pockets of common people. Now, while talking on all this, I'm not even considering the factors like laundering of fake vaccine and other medical frauds. One more thing that really can't be ignored at all is the supply chain and distribution process of the vaccine. After the launching of vaccine, it would be highly complex, especially for a crowded country where the gap is even bigger between the more privileged and the less privileged. Now, summing up the entire motion, it seems highly improbable from general observations, from the scientists' perspective, from the World Health Organization's official statement, and owing to the economic conditions of India as well as the economic crash in the entire world, that the vaccine is anywhere going to end this pandemic. I do not think so. So basically, summing up the entire thing, it doesn't seem that the vaccine is actually reliable. To some extent, people may say, but I do not see that the vaccine is going to end this pandemic anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much, the
Can I say
both of you.
Thank you, sir.
well, well, yes. Well, I'm sure you have a lot in your mind. We all have a lot in our minds. Vaccine has made us, you know, wary. We have so many questions, so many things that's happening, and we want to say so much. But then that's where we have to close the day and be practical, and we need to be positive. The two
because
takeaways that
positive
really
means
important.
progress. Yeah.
Yes, positivity will help us progress, and
But the
being
philosophy will
practical
not help.
will ensure that we are headed in the right direction. We need to be practical because being practical and being negative can cause harm, or being impractical and then being positive can also cause harm. So the takeaway is both of you, the two gentlemen, you have spoken very well. Thank you very much, Himanshu. Thank you very much, Ashar.
Thank
With
you very
that, we
much
come
for inviting
Thank
us.
you. Thank you.
fantastic,
And thank you too. Yeah.
fantastic.
Welcome.
With that, we come to the close of Rebuttal. It was a pleasure to hear you both on Rebuttal. Our listeners can participate in the debate on our website or via the Extra Insights app. We would love to hear you rebuttals. We would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on the current topic that we discussed. We shall see you next week with another real debate. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you.